Well, hello, luminaries. Welcome back to another episode. In this episode, I'll be sharing everything about Sagittarius and our last eclipse for 2021, our Sagittarius new moon eclipse. So I know things are moving really fast for us all right now. So let's hold on and get a dose of Sagittarian inspiration. Welcome to the Savvy Luminary podcast, Astrology for Entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Leslie Tagorda, creator of the Astrobrand Method, business astrologer, brand designer, author, and Aquarius boss woman. I help visionary spiritual entrepreneurs and impact makers like you illuminate and amplify your unique star powers so you can be the luminary you were born to be. Hello, Luminary. Welcome back. I just wanted to open up with a huge clearing breath because it's just been really like nonstop, right? As soon as we hit to that last week in November, it's just like full speed ahead. And then we have an eclipse season. We're in the middle of an eclipse season also. And so even more so, like the gas is just like on the pedal. I don't know about you, but I am feeling so overwhelmed, which is like totally classic for Sagittarius season because, Jupiter, the ruler of Sagittarius, loves to go big. It's like go big or go home. And, lucky me with my Sagittarius moon, I need to always be overdoing things. So, amidst this flurry, whether it is self created or things are just like coming right at you, I hope that you can take a little bit of time out for yourself to listen to this episode so we can go over everything about Sagittarius because, Sagittarius is more than just about going big and optimizing and maximizing and like bringing in all the optimism. There is a need for Sagittarius to really reframe our beliefs because, like our feelings, if we go one level below that feelings and our emotions comes our baseline, our fundamental beliefs. And if we go a layer under our emotions, it's where we have our foundational, our fundamental beliefs. And our beliefs come from a lot of different places. It could come from the society and the culture that we are born in. It could come from our family. It could come from lived experiences. It could come from like these sets of beliefs that people have should on us. And so our job with Sagittarius and as we are looking into the future into 2022 is to really blast through any old belief systems that just don't work for us so that we can replace them with new belief systems that really enable the growth and the expansion of our highest good. And you, love, you luminary in your business through your entrepreneurial journey is where we need to hone in our beliefs because if our beliefs are not set right, let me just tell you, nothing else is going to work out for us. Now, for me, part of this Sagittarian like speed up and this eclipse speed up just comes from being an astrologer and being in my career where the year end and looking into the future, everybody is tuning into the stars because people want to know what's ahead for them. And now some of this is self-manufactured because again, remember I mentioned that Sagittarius is my moon sign and I'm always looking for how to make things better, how to optimize things, how to do things even better. So even though, last year at year end, I offered 2021 in the stars with a calendar and a book and a couple of books and all these things, I'm like, how can I outdo this time? And so this year, thankfully, after sitting on the fence for a long time, wondering whether or not I was going to write another book for New Moon Rituals for Entrepreneurs, I decided that I didn't want to go at this alone. And, I called my friend Natalie Miller of Mind Witchery. And And I asked her if she wanted to co-write this next book, where now instead of just doing new moon rituals, would also be doing full moon rituals. And instead of just for entrepreneurs, we were opening it up to change makers, where we see this kind of path of our work with a capital W as being this kind of journey that we are all on, our contribution into the world to make it a better place. And so we want to support entrepreneurs and change makers in their work by harnessing the power of the moon, whether it's a new moon or a full moon. This regular schedule, this timekeeper that we have co-evolved with for millennia. So I'm really excited to be working with Natalie on this book, and I'm so glad that she agreed to co-write it with me. And of course, I'm recording this on November 30th, and we decided a couple of weeks ago that we are going to do this. And in our true cardinal mutable fashion, Natalie has all of her Libra energies and her Pisces rising, and I have all of my Aquarian energies and my Sagittarius. And Gemini, all so mutable. We are going with the flow, and we actually found this amazing process of co-writing together. So I'm super excited and a little bit under the gun trying to get all of this content created, all the while planning for a party, all the while creating the content for all the year-end offers and up to redoing the website. I don't know, Jeff and I have just been like on a mad dash here, but it's so exciting. And our belief that we are here to help others spark their spiritual growth through their business is really what keeps the fire lit under us to keep on going. Excuse my little digression, because today's episode is really all about the Sagittarius energy. And I wanted to share with you, of course, the Sagittarius archetype and why it's so important in your business, even if you don't have any of your foundational energies in Sagittarius. And I wanted to go into a little bit more detail about our upcoming Sagittarius eclipse, our new moon solar eclipse that's happening on Friday, December 3rd or December 4th, depending on where on this beautiful planet Earth you live on. Before I go in, I think you've already heard me invite you, but I am hosting a new moon ceremony and eclipse ceremony with Natalie Miller. We'll be opening up this ceremony to celebrate the eclipse for all that we have gone through to break down the boxes. This, 2021 was not easy for most of us. And in fact, it was probably a little bit harder than even 2020, the shock and the awe of 2020, but then now all of the breakdown and the cleanup that we have to do. And so we're going to be celebrating together and looking at the old belief systems that we are throwing out with 2021, and we are looking to the future. So during this book party, we'll be celebrating, we'll be doing a new moon eclipse, and I will be sharing all of the highlights that we have in store for 2022. I'm super optimistic about 2022. There are some beautiful energies in the sky. We still have some cleanup to do, and things are not going to be super easy, but there's going to be this collective expansiveness and spiritual awareness that I'm super excited for us all to tap into. So if you want to join me and Natalie for this free celebration, head on over to thesavvyluminary.com/new moon to join us for that free new moon ceremony so that we can all celebrate and look to the future for 2022. The party is on Friday, December 3rd at 12 p.m. noon Pacific or 3 p.m. Eastern. Please join us. So what do you know about Sagittarius? Yes, Sagittarius is a fire sign. It is a mutable sign. It is ruled by the planet Jupiter. Well, I absolutely love Sagittarius. Well, I'm partial, of course, because my moon is in Sagittarius. But at its highest elevation, Sagittarius is the ability to be grateful. Sagittarius is this archetype that embodies expansion, joy, and hope, and belief, and optimism, diversity, and generosity, and abundance. Now, it's not all really awesome, right? Because, if we're just expanding with no end in sight, then we can like go into overreaching and overgiving and overwhelm. Been there a lot. For all the glory of Sagittarius, there are also the shadows of Sagittarius. When we think about the expansiveness and beliefs that we want to open up to, there's a lot of ways we can turn beliefs into shadows, right? We can think about just all of like kind of the really tight judgment and harshness and dogma of some of the most restrictive religions or evangelism or fanaticism. Those are all low qualities of Sagittarius. So, as much as Sagittarius wants to be diverse and have social justice and freedom, that shadow side of Sagittarius can bring in harsh judgment, close mindedness. It can also be one of these elements, kind of similar to Cancer, where it brings in a lot of bigotry and resentment. All things that I am completely against. As a fire sign, Sagittarius has a ton of energy. It wants to explore, it wants to learn all of the things, it wants to be inspired. It has so much passion and so much heat. As a modality or a quality, Sagittarius is mutable. And so remember, the mutable signs in the seasons are living in between, in transition. So for those of us in the northern hemisphere, Sagittarius is the transition between fall and winter. And for those of us in the southern hemisphere, Sagittarius is that transition between spring and summer. Like the other mutable signs, Virgo, Gemini, and Pisces, Sagittarius is able to synthesize a lot of information and reorganize and create something new. And so for Sagittarius, on the other side of the polarity, it sits opposite Gemini, where Gemini is really concerned about facts and information and details and, sharing information with like-minded people. Well, Sagittarius takes that information from Gemini and blows it up and turns that information into a new ideal, a new philosophy, a new vision. In ancient times, if you wanted to be educated, you would often go to your religious community, like your church. And there are so many primary and secondary schools that are still parochial, that are affiliated with religious organizations. And there are still many universities and higher education places that have many religious affiliations. And so when we think about Sagittarius and this affiliation with religion, and learning and education, there's this element of Sagittarius that wants to explore through the mind and explore different philosophies. And and in ancient times, when you had to explore philosophies, you would go to the temples, and these temples then became universities. So when we think about Sagittarius in our businesses and as an archetype, they are really hearkening back to this idea of philosophy, of vision, of this way of living that I come back to this idea of like living as the golden rule. And so, recently when we think about it, with this, I'm recording this on November 30th, 2021, and there has been a fall away from many of the like religious traditions. Now, I have nothing against religion. In fact, growing up, I lived in this very multi-religious household, like a true Sagittarian. My mother is Jewish. My paternal grandmother, who I was raised with, she was a practicing Methodist, although she was born Catholic. And then my stepdad that I was raised with was Okinawan, and he practiced a lot of like Buddhism and kind of Shinto things in our house. So, during the high holidays, we had everything going on. So I I love religion in terms of the ideals that we all can live by and the belief systems that religion puts into place. Now, what I have a problem with religion is where religion starts to become controlling. And so when a religion gets controlling, where it says that only a certain person can do a certain kind of thing, or it's like having dictations over what you can do with your body or who you can marry or who you can love, that's where I have a problem with religions. But the beautiful parts about religions is that they're creating this like the possible highest beliefs of religions is that we have this golden rule that we can live up to, that we can believe in something that's higher or in a higher consciousness that we are all part of, or a place of community where we can all come together. And those are the beautiful things that religion, that I think people who are now turning into more like moon circles or astrology or different avenues of spirituality, that we're still searching for those things that religion used to give us, but with now a sense of freedom and autonomy where we can pick and choose what really works for us. And so, you, as a listener of my humble little podcast, I know that you believe in something bigger than yourself. I know that you see your work and your entrepreneurship as a spiritual journey. I know that you believe in the amplification and the magnetism and the power of the stars, because the stars are almost like a higher power from which we are all part of. So I love seeing astrology in this kind of format of a spirituality that is more open than just kind of a religious dogma. Again, I love religions and all of the beauty that they bring into the world, but I don't love the parts where some religions are controlling. And so when we think about Sagittarius, Serena had asked in the Savvy Luminary group, she had asked a question about my the Sagittarius forecast that I wrote in November about as the sun enters Sagittarius of as being the season to inspirational visioning. I wrote that Sagittarius is constantly on the search for meaning, the next beautiful thing, the next exciting thing, the next exotic thing. And that adding ritual to daily routines to add symbolism and adding meaning to daily symbols create ritual. And this is how we honor Sagittarius, through meaning, ritual, and gratitude. And so Serena wanted to know a little bit further about what I meant by that. And so when we are thinking about Sagittarius ruled by Jupiter, Carolyn Casey, an astrologer on the Visionary Activist show, likes to remind listeners about the power of Jupiter and the power of ritual. And she shares, and I've read many stories about this before, also going back to ancient times, that when we wanted to speak to the gods, again, coming back to this idea of religion and something that's higher than ourselves, that when we needed to speak to the gods, that we needed to speak to the gods through ritual. And, ritual really plays an important, is woven through our fabric as humanity, whether you are blowing out a candle on a birthday cake or throwing flowers at a wedding, or if you're in the Polynesian tradition of stamping your bare feet on the earth to thank the spirits of that land, like through a haka dance from like New Zealand or a hula dance through in Hawaii. All of these are rituals, and all of these rituals are meant to communicate to the gods, because the gods needed these grandiose experiences, these grandiose ways of being spoken to so that they could hear us little humans. And we're thinking about a way to honor Sagittarius in our lives and our businesses. we are adding daily rituals. It's kind of actually really hard for me to talk about it because I'm thinking about all the rituals that I do on a normal basis. I mean, even when I'm opening up my work day, I use ritual. I open up to my spirit guides. I ask them to support me. I ask them to speak through me so that we can serve you in the way that you are ready to receive. I light a candle before I do my work. I have my tea and some herbs with me. There's so many different things that I am putting this sense of meaning into. And to me, this idea of putting a sense of meaning and routines and rituals is putting intentionality. Is that a word? Is putting intention into everything that I'm doing. And this makes Sagittarius happy. This makes Jupiter happy. This makes our connection to the divine even greater when we can add these rituals and symbolisms and meanings to every single task that we do on a daily basis, whether it's just working or you have a bigger ritual, like maybe your monthly moon ceremonies, or you have a lifetime milestone rituals like birthdays or weddings or funerals. All of these are rituals that add symbolism and meaning to our lives. All of this ruled by Sagittarius. So I hope you have a better understanding of Sagittarius. I know I kind of took us on this great journey, albeit very, very Sagittarian. But when it comes down to Sagittarius in our businesses, wherever you have Sagittarius in your business, it shows you by planet or by house where you want to expand, where you want to grow, where you want to bring more freedom, where you want to explore, whether physically exploring and experiencing new cultures, new places, new foods, or mentally exploring through traveling through stories. This Sagittarian energy gives meaning, gives optimism, and gives impact to your work. As an archetype in your business, of course, Sagittarius is the wanderer, the teacher. Now, not like an elementary school teacher. This is a teacher of great ideas and great philosophies. So, like thinking going back to university or going to somebody like listening to an inspirational preacher or storyteller. These are the guides, the wayfinders, the philosophers, the lifetime students, and of course, the practicers of ancient wisdom. I suspect that everybody listening here has a good dose of Sagittarius and Jupiter in their charts because I have a sense that you are a loving, open hearted, free spirit. So I hope you can see why Sagittarius is so important in our business because we need Sagittarius to grow. We need Sagittarius to believe in what's possible. We need Sagittarius to give thanks. We need Sagittarius to build out a new vision, a new dream. We need Sagittarius to bring hope and freedom into our lives and our businesses. Now, when we don't use Sagittarius, we can get stuck. And getting stuck in Sagittarius is getting stuck in a limiting self belief. Earlier in the episode, I talked about how our limiting self-beliefs come from all over the place. Collectively, it comes from the systems that we and the culture and the society that we are born into. Maybe you are a woman, or you and you have certain expectations put on you, or maybe you're non-binary and there are certain expectations put on you, or you're a person of color and there are another set of expectations that are put on you. Or maybe your limiting self beliefs come from your family that tell you that you have to have a certain job or marry a certain type of person or live in a certain type of way that doesn't actually nourish you. Or maybe your limiting self beliefs come from just your past experiences and your Chiron wounds in terms of like you're not good enough, or you're not smart enough, or you're not pretty enough, or just all kinds of shoulds. And so it's very easy to get stuck in these little boxes that other people have created for us. And that's why we need Sagittarius, and because we need to break free of these boxes. I hope that in 2021, the big theme of 2021 again was this idea of Saturn and Uranus breaking free Uranus of the old systems, Saturn. And so you can see how, on a collective level throughout the world, we are being pushed to the brink in terms of breaking free of these systems. But on a personal level in your business, you are breaking down the boxes that you have inhabited, whether these boxes tell you that you have to work really hard and not rest. I still suffer from that, or that you have to overgive in order to feel worthy. Another thing that I suffer from. or or that you have to look or act or be a certain way to be loved. Another thing that I suffer from. And so when we don't really examine our belief systems and we don't examine where we desire to be free, that is represented by Sagittarius and Jupiter, then we put ourselves into these little boxes. Because as a grown up, and I'm using grown up because I'm thinking like I'm talking to my son Rocket. I'm always talking to him about grown-ups, and how grown-ups really don't have it all figured out. But as a grown-up, it's now our responsibility to live our lives in the way that we want it. And so in order to live our lives in the way that we want it, we have to create our own belief systems. Now, if Sagittarius is really strong in your business, you might have your sun, your moon, or your rising in Sagittarius, or you would have Jupiter right on your rising sign or your midheaven. If you have any of these indications, you have Sagittarius, a strong dose of Sagittarius in your brand, and you are here to be a brand that leads with vision and inspiration and belief. Now, even if you don't have your sun, moon, or rising in Sagittarius, you still have Sagittarius somewhere in your chart by house. And so wherever you have Sagittarius by house is the area in your business where you are meant to dream big, where you're meant to create freedom, where you're meant to expand your horizons and create a new belief system. Of course, there are some of us that have Sagittarius wounds. I've seen a lot of Sagittarius wounds with my clients in terms of having like really strict family and religious expectations, or not being able to do what they want. So let's take a deeper look at this. Let's first talk about the Sagittarius wounds. If you're using a quadrant system like Placidus to look at your natal chart and you don't have a cusp line into Sagittarius, this means that your Sagittarius Gemini axis is intercepted. And so you may feel like you're not able to really be free, or you don't trust freedom. And so in order to unlock that Sagittarius energy, you need to go through that Scorpio doorway. And that Scorpio doorway is really asking you to reveal the secrets, reveal what is true for you, or what has been put up there as a false door. When you're using Scorpio to access Sagittarius, it's really about learning to trust yourself and learning who to trust. It's about revealing your truth so you can tap into the freedom and the belief that is true for you. If you have a Sagittarius moon, you need freedom to explore, freedom to believe in yourself, freedom to choose what you need and what you want. And so a Sagittarius moon is very, very expansive. And if you have a Sagittarius moon and you are not free to choose and free to go where you want to go when you need to go, you need to really look at your business and your life to see how you can really nourish yourself with those needs of freedom. The other karmic planet, Saturn, where Saturn is where you're meant to turn doubt into mastery. Saturn in Sagittarius is a little bit of like an oxymoron. It's very contrarian because Saturn and Jupiter are polar opposites. Saturn likes to create boundaries and restraints, and Sagittarius likes to blow things up. And so I suspect that if you have Saturn in Sagittarius, and please let me know if you do, because I'm curious to hear your experiences if you have Saturn in Sagittarius, is that almost that you had no boundaries. And that you needed to learn how to create your own boundaries. Maybe you had a living situation or an experience growing up where you were free to do whatever you needed to, whatever you wanted to do, but that wasn't of service to you. So perhaps, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, if you have Saturn in Sagittarius, your responsibility is to learn how to create boundaries so that you can focus your dreams and focus your vision instead of being so scattered. Now, if you have Chiron in Sagittarius, I don't know too many people that have Chiron in Sagittarius, but remember that Chiron is about wounds that may never heal, that don't make us incomplete, because these wounds that we have learned to adapt and to overcome and to surpass, those overcomings, those adaptations are actually our gifts. And so if you have Chiron in Sagittarius, maybe it wasn't safe for you to be free. Maybe it wasn't safe for you to have your own beliefs. Maybe it wasn't safe for you to. One of the things that's really coming up for me, and I'm not exactly sure, I think this is spirit just speaking through me, is Chiron in Sagittarius. There might have been some really heavy pressures put on you from a religious or a spiritual context. And so, this Chiron in Sagittarius, where you're learning how to create your own freedoms, those are now your valuable assets that you are meant to share and blend in and put and weave in to that work that you offer through your business and your entrepreneurship journey. If you have your South Node in Sagittarius, you might be falling back into this pattern of the need to always be free, where you're never committing to anything that moves your life or your business forward. So if you have your South Node in Sagittarius, start to notice where you've been using freedom as a crutch and not actually able to create anything stable in your life. If that is you, remember, move into the facts and the dialogue and the engagement of Gemini, because Gemini would be where your North Node is. Now let's take a look at Sagittarius by planet. Remember, the energies by planet are these gifts that you are here to use, to harness with gratitude and responsibility. Sagittarius, of course, is belief, inspiration, big dreams, and big visions that expands not only your horizons, but also expands freedom of choice for all. So, if you are a Sagittarius rising, you are here to lead and guide with inspiration and vision. You probably are a wonderful orator, and people come to you for inspiration. If you have a Sagittarius sun, you're here to create and radiate your big cosmopolitan, diverse ideals. You just can't get enough of cross cultural creations. If you have your Sagittarius moon like me, you need to feel and heal with freedom of choice. If you have Sagittarius Mercury, you are here to think and express words of hope, belief, and optimism. Choose your words that inspire big dreams. If you have Venus in Sagittarius, you are here to attract and connect other explorers and visionaries. You probably have that certain je ne sais quoi that just makes people like look at you and think you're a superstar if you have Venus in Sagittarius. If you have Mars in Sagittarius, this is a dose of fire where you have all that energy to motivate and energize with passion and exuberance. I bet you have this really great physical flair just to be able to, step on the gas and like you just kind of burn with possibilities. If you have Jupiter in Sagittarius in its home sign of Sagittarius, you are here to expand and believe in all possibilities. Remember to use a little bit of Saturn to give it containers so you are not overreaching. Now, we talked about this earlier. If you have Saturn in Sagittarius, you are here to master building and structuring that incorporates freedom and hope, but not at the expense of being scattered. So, here to prioritize containers that incorporate freedom and hope. If you have Uranus in Sagittarius, I know a lot of you do, you are here to innovate and individuate from outdated moral judgments. So maybe you came from a strict household or had like really strict expectations put on you. How can you individuate and break free from all of that? If you have Neptune in Sagittarius, and I also have Neptune in Sagittarius, you are here to flow and inspire with belief and freedom for all. And if you have Pluto in Sagittarius, you are a youngster, but you are here to do really important work as you intensify and distill the truth of hope and optimism, breaking through all of that dogma. So I hope you understand Sagittarius a little bit better and know that you have Sagittarius in your natal chart somewhere by house or by planet where you're meant to bring in that big belief, that big vision, that big philosophy in your business. So, where in your life and business are you going to bring in more possibilities and more belief? Because remember, the Sagittarius is a gift that you are here to use with gratitude and optimism. So, we have our new moon in Sagittarius coming up, and it's an eclipse. And so, normally on eclipses, we're not really creating these very specific intentions because we want to be free for that wild ride of possibility. But as you've already heard, as we are looking to the future of 2022, where the big theme of 2022 that I'll be talking about during the party is the meetup of Jupiter and Neptune in their home sign of Pisces. And Pisces and Sagittarius, they, both ruled by Jupiter, but they are very expansive and very visionary. And we are here to create a new vision of the future. And so, with this solar eclipse that we have coming up at 11:43 p.m. Pacific on Friday the 3rd or 2:43 a.m. Eastern on Saturday the 4th, this new moon solar eclipse is your chance to plant the seeds to expand your horizons based on the belief systems in that you've built for yourself in your business and your brand. Because this new moon eclipse is near the south node, and we are really letting go. We're saying goodbye to all of the belief systems that we've outgrown. I've shared with you in the last few episodes where I've had some massive breakthroughs recently about always feeling that I had to fit in this small container, that growing up, I was always told that my body was too big, that I wasn't going to be valued enough, that if I was too big. But what I learned just recently as I was breaking through some belief systems is that my body is not big enough to contain all the expansive and growth. And so, we can talk about physical body or we could talk about spiritual bodies. But when I was going through breaking free of my different belief systems, I really felt that like just my body, like my spirit was like pushing against my body, that I had to break free from my body to grow even more. And so when we're thinking about the belief systems in your business and your brand that you've built for yourself, like maybe you believe that you have to work really hard to make money, or that you have to have a certain job that doesn't nourish you in order to be seen as the expert, or maybe you don't believe that you have the ability to lead, or maybe you don't believe in yourself to be able to be your own boss. Really get curious with what are some of these belief systems that are just like buzzing underneath it all, because these are these old belief systems that you're really getting rid of. You're breaking down those boxes and we're unpacking them and we're putting them in the recycling container, because we have a lot of new things to make space for in 2022 as we expand our spiritual growth and our spiritual vision, yes, in our businesses. So, time to make space in 2022 so you can receive your new vision. With this powerful solar eclipse new moon, our last new moon of 2021, let your intentions be free and non-specific. Be open to the unexpected and all possibilities and wild cards at play. With Sagittarius, you need to believe. Instead of stressing over the perfect intention, create a vast intention to believe in the possibilities that are waiting for you in your business. Believe in the opportunities that are coming to you in 2022 with ease and flow. Believe that you can just receive without working so hard. Yes, you have to put in the effort. I'm not saying that you don't have to work, but believe that things can be easy. Believe in your success that you've more than earned. Believe in stepping into your highest potential. Believe in your purpose clearly showing through in your visionary work. Now, to truly believe, you need to reflect and give gratitude to all that you have accomplished in 2021. And wouldn't it be just such a wonderful honoring of Sagittarius and Jupiter is to create a ritual to give this gratitude and reflection. To truly believe, you need to ask for more, to be able to receive more without having to overgive, overwork, or overthink. I'm sharing this with you, but I'm really writing this for me because I'm trying to create my own new belief system. And you know that gratitude is your key to abundance. There is grace in everything, even the most challenging of circumstances. So, what are you grateful for? And next, what do you want to easily receive more of? What do you need to believe in yourself to be able to receive that? What do you want more of? Visibility, growth, purpose, impact, profits? Decide today on this eclipse that you already have the abundance, that you choose gratitude and more from 2022. What do you need to believe in yourself to receive? Your words of gratitude and optimism have power. For this new moon in Sagittarius, our last of 2021, the new moon will be conjunct Mercury. You must speak your intentions into being. The new moon will sextile Saturn, giving you opportunity to create containers for all of your varied emotions to all help. All of your emotions have a purpose, even the emotions that we judge as bad or hard. Venus and Pluto are forming their conjunction. Venus and Pluto will be dancing over the next few months. And so this is calling in your powerful collaborators that you all have a shared belief of a better vision of this world. And of course, we have Mars squaring Jupiter, a lot of passionate energy that is getting activated for revolutionary intuition and inspiration. So I'll be sharing more about this during our new moon ceremony and book birthday party on December 3rd at 12 noon. Please join me so that we can speak our intentions and our beliefs into being together. Because in community together, our intentions go further. I wanted to answer a couple of questions from members in my free Facebook group, The Savvy Luminary, because there are people asking about this Sagittarius new moon and what it means for them. Justine says that she has Mercury, Sun, Saturn, and Uranus all in Sagittarius. But it sounds like Mercury is the closest to the new moon at 12 degrees, at 18 degrees. And so, with all of this Sagittarius energy, Justine, I suspect that learning freedom and learning choice is a big theme in your life. And so, with this new moon, if you're holding on to, if you're holding on for dear life, afraid of what's happening in the future and afraid of like all of the possibilities that are going to come your way, then this eclipse is going to feel a little bit hard for you. I can't remember what this movie was, but it was this old movie. back in the 80s, and there was the female heroine, and they were going to be travel, like they got some kind of formula to create a spacecraft that was going to allow them to travel through these wormholes. And so they, all the scientists and the engineers, and they built this egg, and they were like, oh, this egg that's going to travel through these wormholes doesn't have a seat. So they built a seat and they put in the seatbelt. And as the woman explorer was going in and traveling through, like the seat started to vibrate and it was terribly uncomfortable. And it was just like getting to the point where she just had to like let go of all of the seat that she's harnessed herself in this egg. And as soon as she let go of this seat that was built for her safety, she was able to just kind of float in this egg and go with the flow. And she had such a much better experience. I can't remember what this movie is. I'm sorry. I just remember all these big details. But Justine, that's how I see it for you. If we can let go to open up to all of the big possibilities, this new moon the eclipse could be possibly gentle. With your sun there, your creativity is being asked for a new belief system. Your Saturn is saying like, hey, are you committing to the biggest dream in your life? And Uranus is like, okay, let's wake up. Let's wake up. It's time for new possibilities. And maybe your wake up is returning to some, we think about Uranus as always innovating and making things new, but sometimes Uranus is like returning to very old things that we've outgrown, that we've forgotten about, that used to be part of our tradition that isn't anymore. So I'm curious what comes up for you. So can you let go to enable this eclipse to be as gentle as possible? I feel like this eclipse doesn't have to feel so hard if we can move our body in devotion, that if we feel any stagnant energies or fearsome energies, if we can move through our body, release those hard energies. And if we can really make peace with our past and see our past as gifts rather than like being like victimized by our wounds, that we can make this eclipse so pleasant. And then Karen asks that she says she has Neptune at 8 degrees of Sagittarius. What kind of flavor will that bring to this eclipse? I'm glad you asked, because I completely forgot that I mentioned that my moon is at Sagittarius, and I also have a moon Neptune conjunction 6 degrees and 9 degrees. And so with your Neptune and 8 degrees of Sagittarius, Neptune will definitely get a burst of expansiveness and wild cardness to this last eclipse. And so with Neptune being pinged by the sun and moon, it's like we are being asked to have a new vision, to be open to a bigger, more expansive possibility. I was sharing earlier that I think a couple episodes ago that my business coach, as well as my astrology my astrology mentor, what kept on pushing me to have bigger and bigger dreams. And I was thinking, gosh, I keep on pushing myself and I'm expanding more and more. And then my astrologer is like, no, that dream is not big enough. And I'm like, what? Like I don't even believe in myself yet to be able to have that possibility. So notice how I'm talking about I don't believe in myself yet to even be able to dream bigger. That's exactly what I believe this for us that have Neptune and Sagittarius being activated by this new moon is that what belief system do we have to blast out of to be able to bring in a new vision, to be able to interconnect with all of the possibility that is waiting out there for us? Because remember, Neptune can be seen as a higher vibration or a higher octave of Venus, and both Venus and Neptune, what they do is they connect and they blend. And so what is waiting to be connected for you at that highest level of Neptune, which goes beyond the physical realm? And I know I'm getting a little bit more into the woo, but there could be a really big spiritual opening waiting for you, Karen, with the new moon hitting your Neptune in Sagittarius. So finally, in this episode, let's talk about your house activations for this new moon eclipse. Remember, you're planting seeds to believe in your growth and your reach through your business. We're not creating strict goals. We are letting the wild cards take us even further. So, if this new moon eclipse that happens at 12 degrees of Sagittarius, check out your chart to find which house contains 12 degrees of Sagittarius, because that is the house that is being activated, where you are being asked to create a new belief in your life and your business. So, if 12 degrees of Sagittarius is in your first house, you might be a Sagittarius rising, where you're creating a new belief around your brand identity and inspirational leadership so that you can grow and serve more people. If 12 degrees of Sagittarius is in your second house, you might be a Scorpio rising, where you're planting the seeds to believe in your growth through gratitude based values and value add through your offers. If you have Sagittarius of 12 degrees in your third house, you might be a Libra rising. And today you're planting the seeds to believe in your inspirational communications and promotional messaging. What belief do you want to inspire in others through your messaging? If you have Sagittarius of 12 degrees in your fourth house, you might be a Virgo rising. And here you're believing in your emotional groundedness and deep spiritual roots so that you can rise higher in your profession. If you have 12 degrees of Sagittarius in your fifth house, you might be a Leo rising. And if this is you, you're setting a new course to believe in your expansive pleasure, joy, and creative inspiration in all your projects, business, and life. If you have Sagittarius of 12 degrees in your sixth house, you might be a Cancer rising. Here, you're creating a new belief system for your freedom based operations that you allow you to serve many, many more. If you have Sagittarius of 12 degrees in your seventh house, you might be a Gemini rising, where you are creating a new belief system to call in collaboration with cosmopolitan, ideal customers and visionary co creators. What do you need to believe in yourself to call in all of those big players? If you have 12 degrees of Sagittarius in your eighth house, you might be a Taurus rising. And here you are creating a new belief so that you have the ability to heal using truth and diverse wisdom traditions. If you have 12 degrees in Sagittarius in your ninth house, you might be an Aries rising. And here you're supposed to kick it up a notch and believe in yourself so that you can expand your global reach, visibility, and inspirational purpose. If you have 12 degrees in your 10th house, you might be a Pisces rising. Here, you're creating a new belief so that you can amplify delivery of your ultimate mission on the global stage. If you have 12 degrees of Sagittarius in your 11th house, you might be an Aquarius rising. And here you need to create a new belief system because you have some big international social impact and community building to make in your business. If you have 12 degrees of Sagittarius in your 12th house, you might be a Capricorn rising. And yes, you, my love, by Capricorn rising, you can create a new belief system for your growth and reach so that you can begin the beautiful flowing journey for unification with one's highest self. I know that sounds really spiritual for you, Capricorn rising, but I know you can do it. So I hope you have an amazing Sagittarius new moon, and I hope that you consider joining me for my free party, the last ceremony where I will be celebrating us. We'll be celebrating my book birthday of my book, Star Powered Brand, and I'll be sharing all of the highlights that are coming down for us in 2022. It is a big, beautiful, expansive year. I'd love to share the star wisdom with you. Head on over to thesavvyluminary.com/new moon to sign up and RSVP for free. Well, that's all I have for you for this new moon, our last new moon episode, an archetype episode for 2021. It's been such an honor and delight to be able to share the star wisdom with you so that you can tap into your highest powers and strategies in your business. And I'm really looking forward to celebrating with you. Head on over to thesavvyluminary.com/new moon to RSVP for my free new moon ceremony, book birthday, and 2022 in the stars highlights. It's going to be a fun time. If you love this podcast, please consider doing me a favor and heading over to Apple iTunes and leaving me a rating and review. Your rating and review helps this humble podcast get seen and found by more listeners like you. Please share the love.